Hello and welcome to Encore with me, Jade Barker. Coming up in today's show. My guest has been described as one of the world's great visionary pianists and composers. Pioneering jazz musician Randy Weston joins me on set to talk about more than 6 decades of playing music. Plus, find out how France is supporting its budding musicians as one of the few countries in the world to publicly fund its national jazz orchestra. And we meet the man who's proving great things can come in small packages, even musically speaking. We give you a behind-the-scenes peek of an exhibition of toy pianos. All that and much more still to come, but first, let's go meet our guest. And I am honoured to welcome to the show today legendary pianist and composer Randy Weston. Thank you so much for taking the time to come in and speak with us.
Thanks for your invitation.
You're here in Paris as part of the festival Bon Le Bleu, which you're performing this weekend. You've been playing music for more than 6 decades, as I said before. I hope you don't mind me telling everyone that you're just shy of your 88th birthday and you're still going strong. Did you ever imagine that you'd still be touring the world playing jazz at this age?
Well, music is spirit, and you never know. I used to hang out with U.B. Blake, and U.B. died at 100 years old. And when he was 90s, he was still playing music. So you just do it until you can't do it anymore.
Bodes well, doesn't it? All right, well, let's take a listen now to a song off your latest album. Wilder Blues to Senegal is from The Roots of the Blues that you made with saxophonist Billy Harper. Let's take a listen. Well, you're performing with Billy this weekend. You first met each other back in the 70s. Why did it take so long to make an album together?
Well, I've had Billy record with me in different orchestral settings, you see. But I first heard his sound in Tangier in 1972 when we gave this big festival. And I loved his sound. He's got that Texas sound, I've always wanted to do just piano and saxophone, but it wasn't meant to be until last year it happened.
Okay, well, let's talk about your sound now. You're best known for your mix of African traditional music in your jazz compositions and improvisations. Why did you start including that style of music into your own?
Well, I've always been interested in the origin of things all my life. I was trained that way. So I wanted to find out more about music, and I found out that music comes out of Africa thousands of years ago. And the traditional people, they have a way of continuing the tradition with their music. Their music describes the climate, where they live, their environment, and Africa is so rich. So I would be studying for the rest of my life because music is magic and it's beauty and spirit.
Your father was part of that exploration, wasn't he?
Oh my goodness! Oh yeah, had a great father. Great father. Made me take piano lessons.
Yeah.
I didn't want to practice, but he made me take piano lessons. And he gave me Africa. He said, we have to study the great African civilizations before colonialism, before slavery. So as a boy growing up in Brooklyn, New York, I'd read books all about ancient Africa.
Well, talking of books, a book about your own life, your autobiography, the translated version of it, it's called Randy Weston, African Rhythms. It's just being released here in France. It's being hailed as an important addition to the jazz historiography. You grew up in Brooklyn. You could say almost that your life, as I said, it spans more than 6 decades of playing music. Your life almost is a history of jazz music. You grew up in Brooklyn at a very culturally interesting time. You were surrounded by a rich musical community. How did this influence you?
It was wonderful. We had to be in the black church every Sunday. See, our ancestors taught us your first lesson is in your mother's womb. Your second lesson is the black church, is the creator. No matter what religion, we're just talking about the creator, And then comes music. So in our neighborhood, you had to take violin or trumpet or piano, or you name it. It was required. And that's the way it was. And the people were not economically rich at all. going through a period of segregation and whatnot. But we had the big bands, we had the blues concert, we had everything. So I grew up in a very rich environment.
And you've been the recipient of numerous awards over your musical career. How does it feel when you look back and see your achievements? Did you ever dream that you'd be so successful?
Impossible. My piano teacher, my first piano teacher, she got 50 cents a lesson. That poor lady had to deal with me for 3 years. After 3 years, she went to my father and said, Mr. Weston, save your money. Your son will never play the piano.
Oh, no.
You know, because I was a terrible student. I was very tall for my age. I wanted to play basketball or football. But my dad got another piano teacher. So he wanted to make sure I learned to play the piano. So from that moment up to today, it's been a big dream, not only because of my career, but the incredible people I've met on the planet Earth.
Yeah, and
music.
you've met so many incredible
people, all kinds of people, writers, musicians, sculptors, poets, because music is our first language, you see.
Yeah. All right, well, talking about supporting young musicians, this next report may actually interest you, Randy. Did you know that France is one of the few countries that actually publicly funds its National Jazz Orchestra? Did you know that?
I didn't know that, but I'm not surprised.
It's
because France has a tremendous tradition of music. You know, you had more jazz festivals in France than any place else in the world, you know.
That's absolutely true. And do you think it's important for young musicians to get this kind of support from the government?
It's extremely important because music is the language of the planet. That's our spiritual way of being in communication with each other. I go all over the world. I don't speak necessarily the language of the people, but we all speak the same language, music. So I think music is spirit and love.
All right, well, this particular orchestra was founded in 1986. As you can imagine, it's pretty competitive to gain one of the 9 spots available. Every 4 years, the entire team changes, including the artistic director, as Nicholas Rushworth reports.
These jazz musicians are looking for a career break. Each of the places in the National Jazz Orchestra is up for grabs. 300 candidates for 9 spots.
We were looking for people with something magical. The instrument itself is not so important. The goal was to find distinctive personalities, people who already have a strong presence.
Selection over, the result is a hectic mix for the orchestra, which is based in the Paris suburbs. The new artistic director sees it creating a soundtrack for the cityscape.
The music conveys the curves and the lines people are experiencing and seeing each day.
The youngest musician in the orchestra is this clarinet player, 23-year-old Jean Dustesier.
I said yes as soon as I saw him. For his poetry, energy and curiosity.
A 4-year full-time job then in France's only public institution devoted exclusively to jazz.
No one till now has heard of me. This is definitely a springboard, a real opportunity.
The orchestra will record a series of albums, tour Europe and go to New Orleans over the next 4 years.
Randy, you were just saying you've actually played with the French National Jazz Orchestra before. Well, what advice do you think, or what would you tell young musicians who are hoping to make it big in the industry? What would you tell them?
Well, for me, it's always understanding what is music and the importance of music. And music is a spiritual language. And you become a musician, you become a healer. Because when you perform, you're supposed to make people happy, you know.
Okay, well, great advice. Now, moving on, they also say that every piano has its own distinctive personality, as I'm sure you would agree, Randy.
Absolutely.
Our next report looks at how a Polish musician has taken to using mini toy pianos to make music. If you want to check them out, you can. 60 of his instruments are also on show at an exhibition in Poland, as Claire Williams reports.
Toy pianos. They come in different shapes, sizes and styles and are designed for children. This musician has put together a collection from Europe and North America. The smallest has just 4 keys. The oldest was made 100 years ago. They're all in working order and are not just museum pieces.
While they're supposed to be for kids, they can also be used to make contemporary music for aspiring music lovers who are open to new musical experiences.
Pavel's workshop is an epicenter of musical creativity. He's got 500 instruments to his name, many of which he made from scratch.
You can guess the sound a violin or a regular piano makes. But it's hard to imagine what a toy piano, a ukulele, a melodica, an ocarina, or a homemade invention sounds like. There's a place in this industry for this kind of music, but I don't think we're about to become pop stars.
With his band, Pavel sometimes performs his music on stage.
Their music reminds me of Yann Tiersen in the Amélie Poulain film. Some sounds are constant, music boxes, short melodies and notes.
While toy piano concerts are rare, the instruments are used in film and theatre music, and Pavel is planning to open a permanent museum of mini instruments.
Randy, what do you think? Would you fancy having a play on one of those little pianos?
Well, my hands are kind of large for little pianos, but they are very important. The creation of musical instruments for children is so, so important to enrich their lives, yes.
Absolutely. Well, I'm afraid we have to leave it there for now, but thank you so much for taking the time to come in and speak to us.
Thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate it.
If you want, you can also pick up a copy of Randy's autobiography if you want to find out more about his long and wonderful musical life. We're going to leave you now with one of Randy's most famous compositions, Little Niles. Enjoy, and see you for more culture news soon.